is covering significant figures, a different way of rounding that is important at National 5. Learning intentions to be able to round very large and very small numbers to a given number of significant figures. This is used in exams, so at the end of a question it's usually worth your final mark, rounding money to a given amount of significant figures or a volume, things like that. So prior knowledge is pupils should be able to already be round to nearest 10, 100,000 and to any given number of decimal places. Usual laws of a rounding here applies. A 5 and above we round up, a 4 and below we leave alone. So what are significant figures? Think of the word significant. Your significant other is the person most important to you. So significant here also means important. In a number, a digit or figure is said to be significant if it gives some sense of quantity or accuracy. 0 digits at the end of whole numbers are not considered to be significant. So what this means is, if I wrote the number 3000, these zeros here are not significant. So this number here only has one significant figure. It is rounded to one figure accuracy. So way back when we were asking you to round to the nearest 10, 100, 1000, we were asking you to round to one significant figure, but we just didn't call it that. So zeros at the end of whole numbers do not count. So I've got 4 numbers here, 4 whole numbers, and I just want to have a look and explain how we go about deciding how many significant figures these have. So what I do is I start from the left and I go discount the first, all the numbers that aren't zeros, they are significant. So this first one here has 1, 2, 3, 4 non-zero numbers, so that has 4 significant figures. And I'm going to shorten this as I go along to sig fig. The second one, starting from the left, I've got a 7, a 2, that 0 doesn't count, so this one only has 2 sig fig. So remember what we said, zeros at the end of numbers, of whole numbers, are not significant. This next one, we've got a 3, 5, 6, we've got 1, 2, 3, these zeros don't count, so that has 3 sig fig. And this one here has got 1, 2, 3, it's got 2 zeros there, but they're not at the end of the number. Look, they're trapped there between that 2 and the 4. So these actually do count. They could just be any other old numbers, in fact. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 significant figures here. So remember, zeros at the end don't count, but if they are trapped in between a number, these do count. So these are significant. So you don't actually get asked how many significant figures a number has. As we said earlier, in an exam, you'll have a final answer and you'll be asked, give your answer to 2 significant figures. So as before, I'm going to get you to start from the left. So starting from the left, we want to keep the first 2 digits. So in this one, I'm going to keep the 8 and I'm going to keep the 3. The next number is a 6. Now a 6 in rounding, previously you would have said, oh, that goes up. So the 3 goes up to a 4. So this one, to 2 significant figures, becomes 8 and 4. We have to turn that 6 into a 0 to keep the place value the same. Your number started as 800 and something. It can't suddenly just become 84. So we have to add zeros at the end to keep the place value. My next one, to 2 significant figures, starting from the left, I'm going to count the first 2 digits. I've got a 9 and a 3. Look at your next number, it's a 7. So a 7 goes up again. So that 3 goes up again to a 4. So we've got 9, 4. Now to keep the place value, this was 94,000. So we have to add 3 more zeros onto our number. Let's look at the next one. First 2 digits are a 3 and a 2. The next number is a 1. A 1 tells you to stay the same, or you might have been told go down. So it stays the same, so that becomes a 3 and a 2. To keep the place value, we have to add 4 zeros here, because those 4 numbers are no longer significant. So that would be 320,000. And the last one, keep the first 2 digits, would be my 9 and my 8. The 3 does nothing in rounding, but I have to add 2 zeros. So there are a couple of examples to 2 significant figures. Now let's look at 3 significant figures. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to count from the left. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So I've got 8, 3, 8. The next number is a 2. 2 doesn't do anything rounding. So that becomes 8, 3, 8. And obviously I have to turn that 2 into a 0. Second one, counting from the left, 1, 2, 3 places this time, is 8, 2, 4. So it's 8, 2. Will that 8 change a 4? It will, and 8 will make that 4 go up to a 5. And then these two numbers here have to be turned into zeros to keep the place value. And hopefully you're getting the idea of this now. Third one, first 3 figures, 1, 2, 3 are my first 3 significant figures. So that is a 4, a 2, a 5 makes that 6 go up to 7. And then these 3 are going to become not significant, so 3 zeros to keep the place value. Then let's look at this last one. I like putting these ones in at the end because they always catch people out. So if I keep my first 3 significant figures, 399. The next number is a 6. Now a 6 would make that 9 go up. And then that would make obviously that 9 go up. And then that would make that 3 go up. Sometimes an easier way to think of it is, well, wait a minute, let's take that out a second. If you're 399, what would that go to next? That would go to 400. So technically my first 3 figures will go to 400, so 400. And then I had a 6124, which I was ignoring. So that would be another 4 zeros to add. Now I know that number to look at only has one significant figure. What actually happens here is this number I gave you was not possible to round to 3 sig fig. Okay, and if that ever happened in an exam, you would still apply the rules. And you would say, oh, it's 399, it's going to go up to 400, add your zeros, and you would still get that answer right. We would probably tend to avoid giving you ones like that in an exam, but I like to put them in because that's the questions we get asked in class. Okay, so here are some for you to try for yourself. So what I want you to do now is pause. I want you to take each number and round it to 2 significant figures and then 3 significant figures, and then press play to the next video to check your answer. So in my previous slides I've all been looking at whole numbers or large numbers. Now we need to look at decimals or tiny numbers. So it's a bit different here. So 2 things to point out. Zeros at the start of a number are not considered to be significant, but zeros at the end are suddenly significant. What does that mean? So I've given you 2 examples here. So if you look at the first number, what we're trying to tell you here is that zeros at the front, we don't count them. But zeros at the end, we do. Okay, now a simple way to try and remember this and how I always explain it is, if your calculator gave you out the answer of 9.5, you would just write down 9.5. But if we wanted to talk about money, we would always tell you to stick a 0 in the end, wouldn't we? Otherwise, it's not in terms of money. And the reason we do that, and we tell you to put that 0 on, is because it's important. That 0 is significant to prove that it's money, because money has 2 decimal places. So zeros at the end, your calculator would cut them off. Feel free to try it. Try typing in 9.50 and then hit equals. Your calculator will drop the 0 because it shouldn't be there. So the fact that it is there at the end makes it important, so it makes it significant. So that 0 there would then be classed as a significant figure. Okay, so no to the zeros at the front, yes to the zeros at the end. So this number here I've given you of 0.045000 actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That has 5 sig fig. I'm now going to shorten that to SF. And this one here has 9, 5. We have to count that 0 at the end, so that has 3 sig fig. Let's have a try at more of them. So how many significant figures do each of these numbers have? So we're counting from the left again. Count your non-zero digits. 9 and an 8, that means we have got 2 sig fig. My second one, 6, 5. Oh, there's a 0 at the end. Shouldn't be there, but it is, so we count it. So that has 3 sig fig. This one here, zeros at the front are not significant. They are purely there to get the place value of this number, okay? So we come along those zeros, ignore them, and we start with a 6 and go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that has 4 significant figures. Again, we ignore those zeros at the front. They're there for place value only. 1, 2, 3. 3 significant figures for that one. That 0 in the middle does count because it's trapped between the 6 and the 1. And here's one with zeros at the front that don't count, but a 0 at the end that shouldn't be there. So because it's there, it's important. So we say yes to that one. that has got 2 significant figures. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try and round to 2 and 3 significant figures again with decimals. So for each of these, we're going to want to 2 significant figures. Now I must point out, they do sometimes ask you to 1 significant figure, okay? But most of the time, in my experience, it's 2 or 3. So that's what I'm focusing on here in this video. So to 2 significant figures, we're going to start from the left. So we're going to keep the 6 and the 5. Going to ignore all those other ones. So that gives us 6.5. Now, the temptation there is to turn at 1, 4 and 5 into zeros, but remember, they don't need to be there, okay? It's only in big whole numbers that we keep the zeros at the end for place value purposes. Sticking these zeros on does not change the place value of the 6 or the 5, so they do not need to be there. So that is just 6.5. The next one, we're going to ignore the 0. We're looking at the 6 and the 9. Oh, this is one of these tricky ones. So a 7 makes a 9 go up. If you're struggling with all the, that goes up, that goes up, that goes up, what would 69 go to? 69 would go to the number 70. So that becomes 0.70. We don't stick any more zeros in the end. The only reason this 0 is here is to make it have 2 significant figures. If I didn't have that 0, that number would only have 1. So that has got 2 significant figures there. No need to add on the extra zeros at the end. Right, this one, we're going to have the 3 and the 6. Your next number is a 5. A 5 makes the 6 go up. So that would be 0.12037. And my last one here, another tricky round. I wanted 2 significant figures. Ignore all the ones up front. The first significant one we've got is 4 and then 9. So the 4 and the 9, 8 is going to make the 4 and the 9 go up. So that would technically go to 50. So 0.1230 zeros, and then stick on your 50. Again, this 0 is here to make it have 2 significant figures. Take that 0 away, that would only have 1 significant figure. Okay, similar numbers. This time we're going to look at 3 significant figures. So we're going to count 3 from the left. So 1, 2, 3 is 7.16. Will that 5 change the 6? Yes, it will. So that would be 717. The next one, 3 significant figures. We do not count that 0 at the front. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So that would go to 0.49. The 4 is not going to change the 2, so 0.492. To 3 significant figures, the next one, ignore your zeros. We've got 946. So 0.1294. Is it going to stay a 6? No, because the next number is a 9. So that'll actually go up to 947. And the last one, I always put in one with all the zeros. So we've got 999. Okay, that's my 3 sig fig. The next number's a 9 that's going to make that go up. So again, what would 999 go to? That would go up to 1,000. So that's actually going to carry into this column here. Okay, so it's going to carry into there. So that would go to 0.001. And then that would go to 0, 0. And then we said it would be 1,000. If I made that 1,000, that would actually have 4 sig fig there. So that's not what I'm after. So technically I need to go back and take another 0 off there. So it would go to that. Okay. And that would be that 1 to 3 significant figures. But as I said, they're very unlikely to actually use one like that with you. So again, here's some to try for yourself. Do each question. Pause once I've finished talking to 2 significant figures, then 3 significant figures. And then check your answers. So what have we learned? Hopefully we've learned when to identify when zeros are significant or not. We've learned to round large and small numbers to a given amount of significant figures. And we have also learned there are exceptions. There are certain numbers that, following the rules, to 2 or 3 significant figures technically only look like they've got 1. Okay? So good luck. Thank you.